All right, so we'll begin with our rolled towel, and I'll have you fold it a couple of times and then roll it up so that it's a nice long skinny roll, kind of like a bolster. We'll begin with this supporting our spines. You can place it lengthwise on your mat, and then you'll lay down here with your spine supported on the rolled towel, allowing your shoulder blades to drop down on either side, allowing maybe your head to drop off the side, and you can let your arms be wherever you like. Maybe they'd like to be out to the side, maybe cactus arms feels good, maybe it feels better to have your hands down beside you. We'll just kind of settle into this shape so that you can be here and breathe and start to let your spine feel supported and let it unwind a little bit. Just resting here. Length of your spine supported on your rolled towel. You can be welcome to close your eyes if that feels good to you. So closing your eyes perhaps, and allowing yourself to really tune into your breath. You can start to pay attention, noticing the length of your inhalations, the length of your exhalations, noticing relative depth, relative ease. And then really beginning to pay attention to the sensation of breath flowing up and down the length of your spine. You may notice places along this central axis of breath and of energy that feel really open and fluid, and you may notice places that feel a little bit stuck or dull. Just be curious about it. And as your breath slows down and as it deepens, maybe you can start to unwind, melt those places a little bit. Sometimes it's helpful to bring your attention around to the back of your body and embrace the stuck or tight spots from behind. Just mentally melting those places, maybe creating a little bit more fluidity in your breath, a little bit more sensation, a little bit more release. And then as it feels good to you, begin to breathe with your Ujjayi pranayama. So just a little whisper at the back of your throat. And as you continue to breathe now with a little more focus and direction, think about taking your breath up and down the whole length of your spine. As you inhale, the breath rises from base to crown. As you exhale, the breath flows back down from crown to base. And we'll continue to breathe in this way. Now bring your elbows level with your shoulders, backs of your hands on the mat on either side of your towel. Your palms up, backs of your hands down. Now as you inhale, keep the backs of your hands on the floor and reach your arms up overhead. Keep pressing your fingernails down. As you exhale, draw your elbows back down. See if you can bring your elbows all the way down to the floor. As you inhale, arms will reach up. And as you exhale, you can draw your elbows down. Keep moving, inhaling to extend your arms. Exhaling to draw your elbows back down. Let's go one more time. Inhale to extend. Exhale to draw your elbows back down. And we'll pause here. Taking attention and breath now behind your breastbone. Let's take one more breath. As you exhale, you can roll to one side. Help yourself up. And we'll make our way to hands and knees. So now you can either move your towel out of your way completely, or if you'd like a little padding underneath your knees, you could unroll, unfold the towel, and bring it underneath your shins. We'll place hands under shoulders, knees under hips, and let's continue with some spinal movement here. So as you inhale, you can lift your hips, lift your heart, lift your head. As you exhale, you can hug up and in and round. Cat and cow. Inhaling for length. Exhaling, moving into this forward flexed position. Belly's hugging in. With each iteration of this movement, maybe you can move a little farther. You might have a little more range of motion, a little more lift on the in-breath, a little more rounding on the out-breath. And you can stay here. If this is feeling good to you, stay with this movement. If you'd like to get a little creative, get creative. Maybe it feels good to circle your hips. Or maybe it feels good to press back to a child's pose or to rock forward to a cobra. Maybe there are other movements that your body is craving. Feel free to make the movements that feel good to you as we start to warm our spines up a little bit more. And eventually we'll organize ourselves back to all fours, and I'll invite you to bring your right foot out in front of you so you can help yourself up to kneeling. Take your right foot forward. We'll hug inner thighs in, hug belly in. Here you might like to give yourself a little extra padding underneath your knee. So if you'd like, you could double up your mat, or you could slide your folded towel underneath your knee. And with your next inhalation, rock forward into a lunge. And as you exhale, you'll rock back. So inhaling to rock forward. Exhaling to rock back. Find a pulse here that matches your breath. And as you rock in and out, be aware of the position of your hip points. There's a tendency here to let your hips kind of twist to the left. So let's see about hugging inner thighs in, drawing in towards the center of your body so your hips are coming straight forward and back. And the next time you rock forward into the lunge, take some circles in your left arm. You can take your arm forward and up, back and down, forward and up, back and down. We'll take one more big circle here, forward and up, back and down. You can bring your hands down to the mat now. Slide your hips back a little bit, and we'll walk this right foot slightly out to the right. Hands to the inside of your right foot. Let's find some circles here. So think about taking this right sitting bone up and away from the right heel, up and away from the right knee. Flexing deeply in your right hip as you circle one way and then circle the other. Beautiful. Let's make our way back to the center. You can take your right foot back, and let's take the left foot forward again, sliding in and out of the lunge. So you might like to place a little extra padding underneath your right knee. You can hug inner thighs in, hug belly in, and as you inhale, rock into the lunge. And as you exhale, rock back, following the flow of your own breath. You can allow yourself to slide in and out of this lunge, and watch the position of your hips. There's a tendency here to want to have the hips twist open to the right. We'll hug in, active inner thighs. Left knee sliding straight forward and back, hips sliding straight forward and back. Let's stay level. And the next time you come down into the lunge, you can circle your right arm, inhaling forward and up, exhaling back and down. You'll inhale forward and up. Exhale, take it back and down. One more big circle in your right arm, forward and up. Exhale, back and down. We'll walk our hands down to the floor. Slide your hips back a little bit. We'll inch this left foot out to the side. Hands to the floor and circle here. And we're thinking about creating some space here. Taking your left sit bone back, lengthening that distance between left sitting bone, left knee, left sitting bone, and left ankle. You can let yourself circle around one way, circle around the other. Beautiful. Eventually we'll find our way back to all fours. And then here, you can once more grab your rolled towel. Let's take the towel now onto our calves. So you'll place it on the musculature of your calves right behind your hamstrings and sit back. So we're getting a little myofascial release here, a little self-massage. Release in the hamstrings, release in the calves. Try to settle down here. And as we sit back onto this towel, let's take our arms out to the side. You can press out through your palms, fingers spread. Beautiful. Really reach, spreading your fingers, pressing your palms to the opposite sides of the room. And then flip your hands over. Press out through the backs of your hands. Nice. Then we'll turn our palms down. You can make loose fists. Fingers curl in towards the palm. Let's reach out through our thumbs and draw our arms back just a little behind the line of our shoulders. Nice. From here, you can release, shake your hands out. You can walk forward, release your legs. And now tuck your right toes. You can press out through your right heel, maybe even lift your left knee off the mat as you really press back. And we'll switch sides. You can tuck your left toes, reach out through your left heel, hug up and in, pressing back through your left heel. Release your knees back to the floor. We'll take the backs of our hands to the floor now, just in front of our knees. Fingertips point towards each other. And here, try taking the backs of your hands to the mat and then curling your fingers in towards the palms. You can re-extend, exhale, curl your fingers in. Re-extend. Let's try that one more time. Making loose fists, curling your fingers in. One more time, releasing. You can shake your hands out. We'll walk forward. And now find our way to downward facing dog. So before we lift up into the downward facing dog, think about lifting your sitting bones. Think about lifting your belly. We've got some length from crown to tail. We've got a neutral position in the spine. So we're neither sagging towards the floor, nor are we arching and tucking. But instead, we've got a little space of the hips widening and reaching back. Little space of the crown reaching forward, the shoulders broad. You can tuck your toes, float your knees, and check in again. Notice that neutral spine. Are you tucking? Are you sagging? Or are you right in the middle? Find the middle and begin to press your way back. Shins can stay parallel to the mat for as long as you can as you reach your hips back, press the front of your mat away, and then begin to extend your legs. Maybe they straighten, maybe not. You can try walking the dog here. Bend one knee, bend the other. Maybe shift your hips side to side. Spend some time exploring. You can spend some time shifting your weight around, feeling the weight in your hands, feeling the weight in your feet, noticing where you're weighted in your hands. Maybe you could press towards the tips of your fingers a little bit more. Noticing any tension you feel in your shoulders, let it go. Noticing any tension in your jaw. Maybe you can make a little space between your back teeth. Maybe you can find a gentle smile as your tongue rests slightly behind your top two front teeth. Beautiful. Let's take 2 more breaths in Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. And then make a slow traverse forward. You can roll from heel to toe. Walking feet forward towards your hands. Eventually we'll come to a standing forward fold with our feet about the width of our hips. And I invite you to bend your knees, bend them quite a lot. Bend your knees enough that you can really feel your pelvis spilling forward, hinging deeply in your hips, lifting in your sitting bones, hollowing through your belly. And then maybe bring your hands into the backs of your knees and give yourself a little massage. So we're going to massage this space just at the bottom of the hamstrings, just above the hollow in the back of your knee. You're going to dig your fingers in there. We'll spend maybe 30 seconds or so giving ourselves a massage here. Working to try to create some release in our hamstrings. And then eventually you can hang your hands back down towards the floor. Maybe your fingers touch down. Maybe you place your little fingers in the creases of your elbows. Let's start to lift hips, spreading upper thighs away from each other, widening your feet on your mat. 2 more breaths in Uttanasana. We're lengthening the distance between heels and hips. You can softly bend your knees. As you inhale, come all the way up to standing. We'll rise all the way up. Take your arms up overhead. And as you exhale, find a side bend to your right. You can slide your right hand down your right leg or reach your left hand towards the right side of the room. As you inhale, rise. And when you exhale, take it to the other side. You can slide your left hand down your left leg. Right hand reaching to the left side of the room. We'll inhale to rise, exhale to fold. When you inhale, lift halfway up. Heart drawing forward, knees might be a little bit bent. Let's plant our hands, step back to plank. And when you lower, lower all the way to your belly. You can come down through hands and knees if you wish. You can lower all the way down if you wish. With an inhalation, fronts of the shoulders lift, base of the skull lifts, head lifts, maybe even hands lift. Bhujangasana. Let's exhale and lower hands just in front of your shoulders now, elbows hug in. Ground the tops of your feet. We'll inhale here. You can exhale and float down. For your next back bend, one more prone back bend, we'll slide our hands back a little bit, and you might lift up into a cobra. You might even extend your arms and legs and take a few breaths in upward facing dog. Grounding the tops of your feet, lifting upper inner thighs, heart draws forward as your shoulders draw back. And when you exhale, take it back to your downward facing dog. Once more in downward facing dog, let's bend our knees, pressing the front of your mat away, pressing the pads of your fingers into the mat. Lift your sit bones. A little distance between sit bones and knees. And then keep your sitting bones high. Come way high on the balls of your feet. Lift your hips as high as you can. And begin to lower your heels by lengthening the back of your legs. It's like you're lengthening from the back of your knee down to your heels, lengthening from the back of your knee up towards your hips. Let's take 2 more breaths here. And at the end of your next exhalation, you can bend your knees and look forward. We'll move feet to our hands, maybe walking, maybe stepping, maybe floating if you're ready. Half forward fold on your in-breath. Full forward fold as you exhale. Let's inhale, rise all the way up to standing. And exhale, take your side bend. Right hand slides down the right leg. Inhale to return to vertical. Exhale, left hand slides down the left leg. We'll inhale to rise. Exhale to fold. You can inhale and lift halfway up. Let your hands take your feet back and lower. Maybe this time you come down to Chaturanga Dandasana. You can hug your elbows in. Rock forward on the balls of your feet. Shift, pause. Shoulders, elbows, hips are all the same height. Inhale, roll through to your back bend, upward dog. Exhale, let's press back to downward facing dog. So this time in your downward facing dog, we'll step the left foot a little forward, a little towards the midline. Let your left heel get very heavy. From here, try floating your right foot up. We'll start with the right foot straight up and back, toes flexed down towards the floor. And then you'll inhale and take your right hip over your left. Stay strong in both arms. So we're not collapsing the left shoulder, but instead stay lifted. Try bending your right knee now. Draw your right heel towards your left hip. When you exhale, you can square your hips. Let's do the other side. Right foot now steps a little forward, a little towards the midline. Left leg reaches up and back. And we'll start right heel heavy, left foot lifting, left toes flexed towards the floor. And from here, we can stack left hip over right. Take some care in your right shoulder. The tendency here is for this shoulder to collapse. So let's stay strong and lifted in the right shoulder as we twist the left hip over right. And then bend left knee, draw left heel towards right hip. As you inhale, you can unwind this twist. Exhale, return your left foot to the mat. Now let's take a breath here. At the end of your next exhalation, you'll bend your knees, look forward, walk or step or float. Half forward fold, full forward fold with the exhalation. Inhale to rise. This time when you exhale, take a twist. So we'll bend our knees a little bit, hips will stay square towards the front of your mat, belly's hugging in. As you exhale, turn your arms out to the side, turn to the right. Nice, you'll inhale back through center. As you exhale, take your twist to the other side. Inhale back to center. Let's exhale, flex ankles, bend knees, take our hips back. Flex your ankles, bend your knees, take your hips back. Flex your ankles, bend your knees, take your hips back, lift your belly, lift your heart, maybe lift your gaze. When you exhale, fold to Uttanasana. We'll inhale, lift halfway up. Plant your hands, take your feet back, and lower through your vinyasa, maybe to your belly, maybe to your knees, maybe chaturanga. Upward dog with the in-breath. Downward dog with the out-breath. Let's anchor left foot. Inhale, lift your right. And then stack your right hip over your left and bend your knee. This time, let's draw some circles. Big circles one direction. Big circles the other direction. And with your next exhalation, come high on your left toes, shift forward, right knee into your chest. Let's place right foot between our hands and pick this up to a crescent lunge. You're reaching through your left heel, reaching up through your fingertips, hug your inner thighs in. Now with an exhalation, see if you might be able to lightly brush your left knee down to the mat. And inhale, pick it back up. And exhale, lightly brush your left knee down to the mat. Beautiful. Inhale, pick it back up. One more time. Exhale, lightly brush your knee down. Inhale, pick it back up. Exhale through your vinyasa. Hands reach for the floor. Back to chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. When you inhale, left foot will lift. Then we can stack our hips, staying lifted in the right shoulder, bend your left knee, and draw some big circles. Big juicy circles one way, big juicy circles the other way. And then come high on your right toes, square your hips, shift forward, a left foot is coming between our hands. You're gonna reach through your right heel, pick up your fingers, reach for the ceiling. Crescent lunge when you exhale. Right knee brushes the floor lightly. When you inhale, pick it up. Exhale, brush the floor. Inhale, pick it up. We'll go one more time. Exhale. And inhale, exhale, reach for the mat and flow through your vinyasa. Back to chaturanga. And upward dog. Exhaling to downward facing dog. Settle in here. We'll spend about 3 more breaths. Steady breath in downward facing dog. If down dog is not feeling good to you, you can always take child's pose, or you can come down to your forearms for dolphin. Steadiness and ease here. If you chose a modification, take a breath to come back to downward facing dog, and we'll bend our knees, look forward. Feet will come to your hands. Half forward fold on your in-breath. Full forward fold as you exhale. Flex your ankles, bend your knees, take your hips back. Flex your ankles, bend your knees, take your hips back. Take your heart up. Exhale, deepen this squat. And as you inhale, lengthen your spine. As you exhale, rotate. We're twisting to the right. So see if you can bring your left elbow to the outside of your right knee. Palms will come together. Take one more exhalation here. Inhale, unwind. Exhale, take your twist to the other side. We're taking right elbow now to the outside of left knee. You can inhale to unwind. Exhale to fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift halfway up. Plant your hands, step or float back through your vinyasa, chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. Let's ground the left foot, lift the right, take a breath. Right hip over left, bend your knee. As you exhale, square your hips. We're taking your right foot between our hands. This time, let your left heel touch down. We'll come up to standing. Left heel is grounded. Right foot is pointing straight forward. Left heel is angled to the back of the mat. We're headed for Virabhadrasana 1, first warrior. So we've got internal rotation in the left leg. We've got our feet on either side of the midline of our mats. We're anchoring left heel, sliding right thigh forward. And let's reach up with an inhalation. As you exhale, straighten that front leg and float your arms down. Stay grounded in your left heel. Inhale, reach up. Stay grounded in the back heel. Exhale, extend. One more time, we'll inhale. One more time, we'll exhale. The next time you inhale, hold first warrior, and you could stay here. You can also bring your hands behind you and interlace your fingers. See if maybe you could slide your palms down the back thigh. As you lift the back thigh towards your palms, lift your heart. Let's try for 2 more breaths here. As you inhale, you can release the interlace, extend your front leg, exhale, flow through Vinyasa. We're headed back to Chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot will lift. You can stack left hip over the right, bend your knee. When you exhale, square, we're taking left foot between our hands. Right heel this time will pivot and plant to the mat. We've got our feet on either side of the midline of the mat just to give you a little more steadiness. Standing up for first warrior, internal rotation in the right leg, a little external rotation in the left. Left knee bends, and as you inhale, sweep your arms up. As you exhale, front leg straightens, arms float down. You can inhale, reach up. We're staying anchored in the right heel. Exhale, straighten the front leg, float your arms down. One more time, inhale to rise. One more time, exhale to float your arms down. The next time you come up into the first warrior, hold it. You can stay here, arms extended. Maybe you take your hands behind you. Your challenge this time, if you're bringing your hands behind you, is to interlace your fingers with the opposite finger on top. So we almost always interlace with the same hand on top. I'm right-handed. I almost always interlace with my right hand on top. So I have to think about switching. I'm going to place my left forefinger on top this time as I lift my heart into the lunge. Lifting right thigh towards palms. We'll take 1 more breath. You can inhale, release the interlace, extend your front leg, and exhale, take your vinyasa back to chaturanga. And upward dog. Exhale to downward dog, and we'll settle here. So when we're holding in our downward facing dog, see if there are any little adjustments that you could make. Maybe there's something you could do to broaden and release your shoulders. Maybe you could glance back at your feet and take a look. Maybe there's a little internal rotation you could encourage in your upper thighs. Maybe there's a little more space you could create between hips and heels. Maybe there's a little lifting in your low belly that you could engage. We'll try 1 more breath. And then you can bend your knees and look forward, move your feet to your hands. Take a half forward fold, take a full forward fold. We'll flex ankles, bend knees, take hips back. Reach our arms up. Exhale, find your twist. Left elbow to outside of right knee. All right, turn your gaze down to the floor now. We'll root down through the right foot. Lift your left heel to start. See how that goes. Then maybe lift your left foot right up and off the floor. See how that goes. Maybe you can reach your left foot back. Balance. Maybe you can touch all the way back into a revolved high lunge. So we've got left upper arm to the outside of right knee. We're lifting through left thigh, turning belly and ribs and chest and shoulders. You guys look fantastic. Let's take 1 more breath. When you inhale, unwind the twist. We're headed back to crescent. When you exhale, hands reach for the floor. So do your best to touch down. If you can't quite reach, maybe you've got a book, something that you could put your hands on. Let's start drawing this right hip back. Right hip up and away from right heel. Notice your tailbone. It will probably want to pull out to the right. See if you can turn your tailbone to point towards the wall behind you. Now let's try flexing right foot. Lift the ball of your foot up and off the floor. Reach the base of your big toe back down. Let's bow for 1 more breath. When you inhale, bend your right knee. Plant your hands, step back through your vinyasa, chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. Beautiful. Settling into your downward dog for 2 more breaths. And at the end of your next exhalation, you can bend your knees, look forward, move your feet to your hands. Half forward fold, full forward fold as you exhale. As you inhale, flex your ankles, bend your knees, take your hips back, take your arms up. Exhale to twist. So we'll take right elbow now to the outside of left knee, rotating in your chair. Ground down to your left foot. Let's lift the right heel. Pause here. Now see if you can lift your right heel all the way up towards your glutes. Pause here. Maybe you can press back through the right foot. And eventually we'll step back, revolving your high lunge. We're lifted in the right thigh. We're hugging inner thighs in, belly and ribs and chest and shoulders rotating. As we hold this twist, tune back in. Maybe you can feel that central axis for breath. Just where we began, with the support along the length of our spine, inhaling from bottom to top, exhaling from top to bottom. The breath continues to flow even in this twist. That conduit stays open even in this twist. Nice. With your next inhalation, you'll unwind the twist. And as you exhale, bow forward, hands reaching for the floor. If you can't quite touch down, maybe put your hands on blocks or bolsters, books, whatever you happen to have available. And we'll lift the left sitting bone up and away from left heel. We're pointing tailbone back, getting as much distance as you can in the back of your left leg. And then see if you might be able to peel the ball of your left foot up and off the floor. So eventually we'll release left foot back down to the mat, bend the left knee. Plant your hands and flow through your vinyasa. Take it back, chaturanga. Upward dog. And downward facing dog. From our downward dog, we'll inhale forward to plank. And nice and slow, lower to your belly. So come down to your belly. If you happen to have your rolled towel or rolled blanket, take a hold of it. And we'll place this underneath approximately the midpoint of your right thigh. So left thigh and hip will be on the floor. Towel or rolled blanket is underneath your right thigh. And we're looking for extension in our hip here. So you want to be able to prop your right thigh bone up. So we're in extension in the right hip. It's not in the crease of your right hip. It's a little bit lower than that. So this may already feel like a stretch. You could be right here. If you'd like a little bit more, you can bend your right heel. Maybe you reach back and grab your ankle. Maybe you start to draw this right heel in towards your right hip. We're continuing to lengthen tailbone back towards your left heel. We're continuing to feel some extension in the front of the right hip. And maybe you can breathe into your lower back ribs here. It takes a little bit of time letting hips and quads open up. Nice. If you've got a hold of your right foot, re-extend your leg. Let's release the towel or blanket from underneath the right thigh, and we'll move it over to the left. So again, placing it somewhere around the midpoint of your thigh. The muscle of the thigh, not in the crease of your hip. We want to be able to prop this leg up. So even if you're simply laying prone here, we're creating extension in the left hip. Left thigh bone is moving back. And this may already be enough stretch. You could stay right here. If you'd like a little more, you bend your left knee, start to draw your heel in. If you'd like a little more, you could grab your ankle. Maybe beginning to encourage left heel towards left hip. We'll stay here, stay with our breath. Bringing breath into your lower back ribs. And you may find that with each inhalation, you get a little bit more intensity in the stretch. Stay with it. And finally, we'll release this leg. You can slide your rolled towel out from underneath you. And just rest on your belly for a few breaths. From here, bring your hands right underneath your shoulders. You can inhale, help yourself up to hands and knees, flex your feet, tuck your toes. Exhale, press back to downward facing dog. From here, we'll inhale, right leg up, take a breath. Next inhalation, right hip over left, bend your knee, drawing your right heel towards your left hip. When you exhale, square, right foot comes between your hands. Left heel pivots down to the mat. Let's inhale and rise, first warrior. This time when you exhale, let's take the heel of the right hand to the crease of your right hip. Draw this hip back. You can press with your hand, you can widen this thigh bone out to the side as we hinge forward, headed to pyramid pose. So maybe your hands find the floor, maybe they find a book or a block, maybe they find your shin. Notice what's going on with your tailbone. It may be pulling out to the right. So try to turn your tailbone to face the back wall. And we'll take a few breaths here. Notice too what's going on in your left leg. There might be a tendency for that knee to bend, for the anchor under your left heel to get light. See if you can counter that, pulling your navel towards your spine. And from this lift, planting the back heel. From planting the back heel, lengthen your spine forward. Rooting allows you to extend. Next inhalation, you can bend your right knee. Stay grounded in the left heel, pick it back up, warrior one. Exhale through your vinyasa. Hands reach for the mat, we'll step to chaturanga. And upward dog. And downward dog. With your inhalation, left foot will lift, take a breath. Next in breath takes left hip over the right. You can bend your left knee, pull your heel towards your right hip. We'll exhale, square our hips. Take a left knee into chest and place your foot between your hands. Your right heel pivots to the mat, pick it up, warrior one. So again, we've got this bending in the front knee. We're internally rotating in the right leg, right heel stays anchored. Now the heel of your left hand will find the crease of your left hip. And you can draw that thigh bone back. You can widen it out to the side, really square your hips as you hinge forward over your left leg. Maybe hands find your shin, maybe hands find supports, maybe hands find the floor. Letting your tailbone point towards the wall behind you. And then anchoring your right heel. You can do that by lifting your navel, and from this lift, send energy through the back heel. You'll notice too that when you do that, when you lift the navel, when you plant the back heel, you've got a little more space to extend your spine long. And maybe forward fold a little more deeply. Your next inhalation can pick you back up, warrior one. Exhale, take your vinyasa. Hands reach for the mat, we'll step back. Chaturanga, upward facing dog. Exhale to downward facing dog. Let's inhale forward to hands and knees. And once more, take right foot forward in line with right hip. So we're headed back to our low lunge. Inner thighs hugging in. We can extend the left leg back, extend the right leg forward. This time, maybe you interlace your fingers. Place your palms on your front thigh and press the front thigh away as you roll your shoulders back, as you roll your spine long. Nice. When you exhale this time, bring your hands down to the floor. We'll flex our left toes and tuck them under. So now start to slide your hips back. Maybe you can even sit down on your left heel. If this is a little much in your knee, you could always place your towel. You could also stay here bowing forward if that feels best to you. But maybe you can sit right down with your left heel between your sit bones. Right toes are pointing to the ceiling. You can continue to bow forward here. Maybe your hands are back by your hips for balance. Maybe your hands walk forward towards your right foot. You might even be able to lift through your core a little bit and take your hands to your right foot, bowing here, Ardha Hanumanasana, half split. Nice. We'll inhale, rock forward and switch legs. Right foot steps back. Left foot steps forward. Let's slide into our lunge. We're extending back through the right leg. Left knee is sliding forward. Both thighs are hugging the midline. Belly's lifting, ribs drawing back. You can once more press your front thigh away as you roll your shoulders back. And as you exhale, hands will reach down to the mat. Let's tuck right toes and start to slide our hips back. So you could work here. You could flex your left toes towards the ceiling. If it feels reasonable in your knee, try sitting all the way back onto your right heel. This could be your pose, hands supporting next to your hips for balance. You could hinge a little more deeply. Maybe hands walk forward. Maybe hands find your left foot as you lift pelvic floor, lift belly, catch the balance. As you inhale, you can walk forward. Let's take a left foot back. Once more, right foot forward. And you might have guessed where we're going. I'm going to invite you to full split, Hanumanasana. So I like to come into this pose from the lunge. I'm going to create as much extension as I can in my left hip, slide my hips forward. Reach down towards the mat. If you happen to have blocks or books, that can be helpful just to lift yourself up a little bit. I'm going to inch this foot forward. So I'm just scooting my right foot forward. Eventually, I might flex this foot. Eventually, I might slide this leg out towards straight. And this could be your pose. Maybe you can slide down a little closer to the floor. Maybe if you're pretty close to the floor and you have your rolled towel, you slide the towel underneath you. If you are comfortable in this position, legs activated towards the center, you could consider taking your arms up. Stay with your breath wherever you are. One more inhalation and your giant leap over the ocean. We'll exhale, hands slide down, inch your front foot back in. And we'll come to all fours. Find any movement that would release any tension or intensity that might have developed. So maybe some hip circles, maybe some cat and cow, maybe a child's pose, maybe a cobra. Beautiful, and when you are ready, we'll take it over to the other side. We'll step the left foot forward. Sliding left thigh forward, right thigh back. Inner thighs hug in, getting the extension in your right hip first. And then your hands can reach down towards the mat or maybe to your supports if you happen to have them. You'll start to inch your left foot forward. I'm just kind of inchworming my foot forward using my toes. Eventually, I can flex this foot, slide the heel out. And I'm looking to keep my hips as squared as possible. It's easy to twist to the right here. So I want to keep hugging in towards the midline, getting extension. Maybe this is your pose. If you have your rolled towel, you could always slide it underneath your front thigh for a little support. Maybe you can take your arms up and off the floor. Nice, let's take one more inhalation here. You can exhale to release your arms. Work your way back, left foot slides in. Eventually finding your way back to hands and knees for some big, delicious hip circles, or a restful child's pose, or relaxing belly opening cobra. Eventually, let's all find our way back to child's pose. So you could take your big toes together, knees about the width of your shoulders and hinge forward here. Maybe forehead rests on the floor. You can take your hands back behind you. This might feel great. You might prefer to bring your knees in a little closer and get more stretch in your low back. So if this feels better, knees can walk in and you can allow the extension to enter your spine. Wherever you happen to be, let your breath slow down a little bit. We've done some intense work today. So give yourself a chance now to let that take effect, to let go of the effort and find some ease. One of my favorite of the Yoga Sutras talks about the balance of energy in our poses. It says, Sthira Sukhamasana. And it just means find steadiness and ease in every posture. Balancing steadiness and ease. Nice. Somewhere in your next few breaths, you can bring your hands out in front of you. Help yourself up to kneeling and then shift your hips to one side. Let's take right leg out straight in front of us. So see how this goes. If your knee's a little tender, you could use your rolled towel in the back of your knee. If your hamstrings are feeling a little short, you could sit on your rolled towel. And we'll step the left foot to the outside of right hip. So we're trying to bring left heel all the way to the outer right hip and stack our knees in on top of each other. So check in with your right knee. Sometimes this can be a little intense. See how this goes, and then you might be able to round this forward. You can allow the right leg to relax. Maybe hands are beside you. Forehead can round towards left knee. And we'll settle in for a few breaths here. Maybe now you can feel what it feels like to inhale and bring space across the back of your sacrum. Space into your low back, space into your hips. We'll give this another 15 seconds or so. And the next time you inhale, walk your way upright. Let's unfold our legs. And just reach them both out straight in front. Bases of your big toes will touch. Take your hands down by your hips. You can press into the floor or press into the prop that you're sitting on. Roll your shoulders back, lift your heart. Chin is a little attracted to the hollow at the top of your breastbone. And check in here. Notice what it's like to be symmetrical now. Eventually we'll release Dandasana and stack right knee on top of the left. Crossing at the thigh, we'll try to tuck this right foot all the way out to the outside of your left hip, nestling your knees right in on top of each other if you can. If this is a little uncomfortable, you could always place some support behind your left knee. And here we forward fold. That could mean hands behind you, pressing to hinge forward in your hips. It could mean allowing your spine to round forward, allowing your forearms to drop towards the floor on either side of your left shin, allowing your forehead to round towards your right knee. So again, inviting that balance of intensity and ease. Notice where you're holding that maybe you don't need to be holding. Let it go. Some space at the back of your neck, a little space between your teeth, checking in with the space between your eyebrows and softening there, softening your eyes. Releasing the control of your breath. And once more, we'll give this about another 15 seconds. And with your next inhalation, you can walk your way upright. Let's once more uncross our legs. Bases of the big toes together, legs extend. Hands can press into the floor on either side of your hips. There's a lifting in the heart There's a softening of chin down towards breastbone as we find Dandasana. You can release your staff pose. Let's bend our knees, take our feet to about the width of our mats. Make sure you're centered on your mat. You might scoot your hips a little forward. You can lean back into your hands and we'll just let our knees rock side to side. As your knees rock, you can allow your pelvis to rock. You can allow your spine to release. As your knees drop to the right, your left hip will lift. As your knees drop to the left, your right hip will lift. And when you've rocked an equal number of times to each side, you can come down to your forearms and keep rocking. You might find that the sensation changes a little. And when you've rocked an equal number of times to each side here, lay all the way down onto your back. And the next time your knees rock over to the right, see how it feels to stay here. Gravity can take your legs. You can turn your head over to the left. This might feel fantastic. If you like, you can pick up your right foot and put the outer edge of your right foot on the outside of your left knee for a little more leverage. If that's not okay in your left knee, just leave your right foot on the floor. With your next inhalation, knees can point back up to the ceiling. Let's take knees over to the left. Gaze can turn right. This might be your pose. If you want a little more leverage, you can pick up your left foot, put the outer edge of your left foot on the outside of your right knee, and hang out here. And finally, you can uncross your legs, inhale your way back to the center. Take a moment to press the back of your head into your mat. Lift your shoulders. Nestle your shoulder blades in towards each other a little bit and then set them back down on the floor. Then press into your feet, lift your hips. Press toward your head so you can feel your shoulder blades being drawn down your back. And then let that go. Arms will release out by your sides, palms up if that feels reasonable. And you can stay here with your knees bent. You can extend your legs out straight. If there are any other movements that your body is craving, you could make those movements now. Otherwise, get as comfortable as you can. Allow yourself to rest now. So settling into your final resting posture. You can feel the back of your body resting against the floor. With each exhalation, you can feel the breath sink through your back into the floor beneath you. With each exhalation, you settle in a little bit more deeply. Letting go of everything we've loosened and burned up with this practice. And I will leave you here in your Shavasana. Stay as long as you like. This is your time. The work is done. Now integrating the practice. Resting here comfortably, slow, deep breath. Thank you so much for joining me.